Greetings, gang. So, yep, we got another one today. Typical, it's Friday, it's the weekend, and all this sort of stuff kind of gets rolled out and what you see. So, uh, interesting. Now, we all know what's going on with COVID, and we've talked about, I did a video a week or so back about lockdown number 3. Is it coming? We know what the story is there. Okay, now, this video is probably a little more geared toward our Canadian subscribers, and maybe the Australian subscribers could understand it too, because they're kind of going through some of the same thing. But this is primarily toward Canada, okay? And part of this was on a email that was sent to me this morning, and somebody had made the comment on something I had watched last night. If anybody watches Tucker Carlson, over on Fox News, he had discussed this last night, but I kind of wanted to put this into play a little bit about what we're also seeing. Okay. Now, if y'all haven't noticed or haven't heard, because I know a lot of us don't watch mainstream media, and I certainly won't, but I will pick up Tucker because I like Tucker. Tucker was talking about last night the new lockdown. I guess it's 4 weeks that Canada's going into starting this weekend. How convenient that it's a holiday weekend, right? The interesting part with this is, the soy boy in charge of the world, if you will, Justin Trudeau, okay, talked about quarantining people who test positive for COVID, okay? And it's a little bit more than just quarantining, because, I know a lot of you guys had followed Constantine over with Letters to King after I interviewed him, and, I watch his channel. Constantine's a friend of mine, and so I see a lot of comments on there from names I recognize from here. And Constantine had just gone through his COVID for the second time. And if you remember what he said about his, was he was quarantined to his house and was required to take a selfie every couple of hours and send it to the Ministry of Health or whoever it was, or his doctor. I don't know exactly who he had to send the selfie to, but some governmental organization to prove that he was, in fact, staying home. Okay. But he was at least quarantined at home, so, still with his wife and his kids and, his normal life. He could at least pay his bills and watch TV and do whatever. So I asked Mrs. P, I said, so, if he would have gone out, what would the penalty have been? And she said, not sure, but she bet it would be somewhere around 5,000 rubles, say about $100. Okay. And you go, okay, not that big of a deal, but, again, you got to understand, and Constantine's talked about it, I've talked about it a little bit too, about the disparity in income in Russia and the United States. Okay, $100 to us isn't much. Okay, $100 over there is 20% of your monthly income for a lot of people. All right, so just to give you that idea. But back to Canada here. All right, and Justin Trudeau and his idea for quarantining. Okay, think of Nazi Germany. All right, Trudeau is opening up, for lack of a better word, concentration camps, okay? This is a direct quote from Justin Trudeau. If your test results come back positive, you'll need to immediately quarantine in designated government facilities. This is not optional. Now, think about that word for a second, or phrase, designated government facilities. Okay. My house isn't a designated government facility, so therefore I'm not obviously quarantining at home. So I've got to because this is not optional, mandatorily go to whatever government facility Ottawa decides that I'm going to go to. If I try to ignore this, okay, according to the Canadian government, anyone who attempts to avoid detention in a government internment facility could face a $1 million fine and 3 years in prison. Now, first off, I'm going to say this. That is the could face, the could is the key word, because imagine the uproar if some Canadian Mountie comes up and hands you a ticket for $1 million. Okay, you're going to laugh. I mean, most of us are going to laugh at him hysterically and go, where the hell do you think I'm going to come up with this money? A ticket's never getting paid. All right. So that's the cap. That's not realistic. But even let's say it's $1,000 or $10,000. Okay. Now, I can't speak for the Canadians, but I can speak for the Americans. And it's something like 60% of the American population can't come up with $400 for an emergency. How the hell are you going to come up with $1,000, irregardless of exchange rates between the dollar, the American dollar and the Canadian dollar? Okay. I'm guessing the Canadians are probably pretty much in the same boat. Maybe close, maybe not, maybe so. So where are you going to come up with the money? You can't, okay? And like anything else, either pay the fine or do the time. Well, that means they're going to have to put people in prison up to 3 years. Interesting, okay? That's where I'm correlating this to Nazi Germany. So in Tucker's story, there's a couple of interesting deals, all right? You had a story of a gentleman who was flying from all places, Tennessee, to Canada for a business meeting, okay? He had to go in and do his quarantine. You know, obviously you're going across country lines, and so Canada requires people to quarantine before they can do something, so fine. So they put him in this facility, which was literally, I mean, they're not putting you in a hotel room or something. They're putting you in a, for all intents and purposes, cage, all right? You know, a box with a bed in it. And he was waiting for his coronavirus test results to come back. Well, the jailers that were holding him forgot to feed him for 24 hours. No food, no water. So he left his cell to go to get, you know, to try to find something to eat. And there he found other people who were being held without food, okay? This is what the Canadian government is actually doing, okay? This isn't an idea. This is what's actually going on. If for 1 second any of you guys think that the same thing isn't going to happen in the US, in the UK, in Germany, in Sweden, anywhere else, you know, that y'all are watching this, we're seeing this over and over and over again. And I talked about this months ago when I said, watch what's going to happen. They're going to put us in internment camps, FEMA camps. And that's exactly what's going on now. You're seeing it in Canada. We're in a lockdown, okay? Now we're going to see this. You can bet your bottom dollar this is going to happen in the U.S. as well, okay? You know, you look at another guy up in Canada, okay, who is a Canadian citizen who was on a business trip coming down to the States in Florida. And again, this was on Tucker's show, okay? He landed back in Calgary, and immediately he was, if you will, kidnapped by the police, put in a black van, and taken to an undisclosed location, all right? He asked where they were going, and the answer he got was, we'll tell you everything when you get there. Does this sound like Gestapo tactics or SS tactics? I mean, literally, the guy was thrown in a black van with tinted windows and practically kidnapped, okay? He gets out of the van, and there's people walking around, and basically everything's covered in plastic sheets. Now, this is how they're treating their own citizen in this point. I mean, the first example was how they were treating an American citizen, which is one thing, okay, bad enough. I mean, treating any human being. But in this time, now they're treating the Canadian authorities are treating a Canadian citizen like this, okay? You know, as the media puts it, the government has said it is forbidden. This is an order to not call it a jail. What the hell would you call it? Now, imagine this. We joked about the other day about people going on vacation, right? Can you imagine going on vacation somewhere? You want to go to Cozumel or Cancun or the Bahamas or Acapulco or wherever it would be. Okay, somewhere out of country, hey, not that a whole lot of people are doing that right now, but if you do, and you have to come back and quarantine, but not quarantine at home. You have to quarantine in a plastic cage, and I have no proof about this, but I can pretty much bet there's armed guards there keeping you in, okay? Because otherwise somebody's going to say, why the hell am I staying there? What are you going to do to stop me? Adios. So this is what's coming, guys. This is why I keep saying, okay, make sure you are self-sufficient 100% within the confines of your property. Because if you aren't, who's to say you don't drive down the street, go to Walmart or go to the grocery store or go to Home Depot or wherever you're going to shop one day, and somebody, as you get out of line, grabs you and throws you in the back of a black van with tinted windows and says, we're taking you, okay? This is stuff out of a Jason Bourne movie, guys. This is real life, okay? This isn't Hollywood. This stuff's actually going on. They're doing this for control, okay? They're doing this for fear. And you think I warned you guys about this before, that as the public opinion on COVID starts to wane, everybody's like, okay, fine, screw it. It's not that big of a deal. They're going to do something to ramp up the fear factor again. This is exactly what's going on. Okay. Now they're gonna scare people out of leaving their house because, the Gestapo may get you. And that's kind of what's going on in Canada right now. So coming to a town near you, good old armband's going to be coming to get you. Have a good one unless I see you again today. Pinball out.